Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
And how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much. How are you too?
All right, I'm live, I'm well, and I'm very good. Awesome being with you. I'm totally excited, as usual, for all the things that we will learn and glean from your experience. It's not been too much of a stressful week for you.
No, well, not at all. Not at all. Just getting. It's a new month, so happy new month, everyone. Happy new month to you too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're already
Thank
beginning to
you.
hear Christmas songs and see Christmas movies. So it's that time of the year.
Happy new month to everyone. And as we always say in this part of the world, it shall be a month of God's favor and of God's goodness all round. All
Amen.
right, I hope I'm still very visible. My screen is blank on this side, so I'm wondering what's going on. At times, these things give this vibe, and I'm always wondering. Okay, I think I'm back. I can see myself now. It can be quite interesting at times. All right, so um, in introduction, um, agile.
Are you still speaking? I cannot hear you. Hello. Looks like Doc is off for a bit. Let's just give him a few moments to come back.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Am I visible here? Ah,
Yes, you are.
wow. I need to change. Why is it not bringing back the background?
Did you log in with another device?
No, no, no. Change device. Oh, it's back.
Okay,
Apologies.
no problem. Welcome back.
He just went off. Interesting guy. Okay. All right. We have quite some ground to cover. How are you? So, like I was saying, agile teams is the future, is the way to go, and we won't escape from agile easily. And simply put, what are the changes that we should expect to see in agile in the coming days, especially from a team productivity perspective? Let's just launch into it directly. I have a couple of observations myself, and there's a critical reason why I'm asking for this. Organizations will need to produce more and faster, and despite economic upturns and upheavals and very harsh economic climates. Majority of the economies of the world, the developed economies of the world, are undergoing some vitiating factors, starting from the United States. And whatever happens in those economies has a way of trickling down globally. So strengthening the productivity of agile teams, it's a beautiful and a wonderful way to strengthen the economy. So what are the changes afoot that you see, and what do we think we need to do to work on that particular part of the economy or the ecosystem in quotes?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone, or good day, everyone, depending on where you're logging in from. So, in Nigeria, where I live, there's an interesting phenomenon that's going on right now, and that's the emergence of fintech companies, and the I mean, what we know traditionally about banking is, deposits and withdrawals within a brick and mortar structure, right?
Mhm.
Deposit, withdrawals, and on top of that, you have credit, so loans for businesses. On top of that, you have, things like Form M, Form C, and those kind of things that are necessary to fastly trade. But for in the very recent times, there's been a shift in what we can call branchless banking. So in the last 5 to 7 years, fintech companies have risen that have no bank branch. They have no physical representation. So when the idea was launched, and it wasn't like a formal launch, it wasn't like a formal, hey, fintechs are here to stay. It was just, look, you need to transfer money very quickly, small amounts of money. You don't need, some serious bank accounts. In fact, you don't even need to remember your account number. You just need to remember your phone number. So it sort of goes along the path of intuition, where your phone number is your bank account, less one digit. Um, Everything can be resolved on the application, right? You don't need, in terms of OPEX, you don't need to run um, cost of diesel, rent, staff, right? All of those things that impact very heavily on the balance sheet of big conventional institutions. And why are we talking about this? This is really how um, agile team productivity comes to bear, because when disruptions happen in any industry, they usually start as small shifts. They don't look very obvious, right? They seem to be um, they, they always seem to come from a problem point of view.
Hello, Mr. Depot.
Yeah, I'm here. So now, in responding to those things, one can either say in a day will never come where a customer won't walk into a banking hall. I mean, who does that? Who's going to ever bank with a bank that doesn't have a physical structure? Or it could be, you know what? There are millions and millions of people that don't have access to financial services. And the
Mm,
things that financial services for are very small transactions, you know. Um, and
mm,
I was speaking naira terms, 10,000, 5,000, 2,000. You know, the cost of acquiring a debit card, the cost of acquiring, of using that piece of plastic on an ATM, it's just not realistic for people within that cluster. And so a solution shows up that deals with the problem, doesn't necessarily try to build a structure around what already exists, just says, can we solve this problem? And by solving this problem, they solve another problem. By solving that problem, they solve yet another problem. And one thing leads to another, to another, to another, until we have a whole industry, we have a whole movement, we have uh, regulation, we have sandboxes, how the workplace is today, because nothing is going to give you any advance notice about a threat. It's going to start as, you hear the wind of it. Or, some people who typically would have patronized you are patronizing alternatives or substitutes, and you might be thinking, "Oh, come on, these guys they don't know value. We're the best in this field." But truth is, for a team to stay agile, they have to recognize that the plates are consistently shifting. How consumers choose to solve a problem will consistently change. There are quicker ways, there are cheaper ways, there are perhaps even ways that appeal to a younger set um, of users that an older generation may not even relate with.
mm,
So really that's it. And that agile thinking has to be at the fore. If not, we might say because an organization is still making money from a particular revenue line, we're not going to change our attitude towards it. And we would discredit any threat or competition just because we think we're never going to, be outdone. And that's
mm,
extremely dangerous thinking. So that's the context with which we would like to start our conversation today. That there's no there is no option for agility. It is definitely required in this space and this time. I mean, we're not even delved into AI, right? And the various ramifications of what artificial intelligence is going to change. That in itself is another snowball that will again produce new winners and unfortunately losers. So an agile team should prefer to be on the winning side. That's after all the dust settles, we're the ones who have an emerging technology. We've been able to recoup new customers or new users, and we're even more profitable.
mm, mm. Thank you so much. So, what are the kind of changes that we would see? You've spoken about more profit, and thank you for the beautiful changes. I like the idea that small changes will eventually start the process or catalyze into bigger things. And because they are small in the beginning, does not mean that they will be small forever. Thank you for that. But what are the things that we should literally um, look out for practically, especially as some that would um, herald this small? What are the small changes in agile teams that will be big? There are small changes that won't be big, and there are small changes that will be big down the line. So what are those changes that we should look out for?
So are you speaking? with regard to the team now, or
Productivity, yes. In regards
productivity?
to the productivity of the team, what are the
Yes.
small changes that we should expect that we would see in the coming days?
Okay. Well, one of them is something that we have dealt with post COVID, which has been the idea of remote teams, and that's a staple that is not likely going to change, right? The ability to collaborate over geographies and time zones, that in itself is going to evolve into something bigger. And I think, again, from all observations, that the next level of this collaboration will be between humans and technology, right? Because of the way artificial intelligence is going to integrate almost so seamlessly into workflow, agile teams will need to know how to plug in tools that really 10x, 100x productivity, right? Because it currently exists. And sometimes it may be a decision of should how far in should we go to embrace this new technology or this new intelligence in boosting the work that we do? What are some of the guardrails we need to put in place so that there is no abuse, so that there are no unethical uses? I mean, if you want to say that, but clearly those are some of the small changes that will be happening. So in team agility, when people within teams perhaps start to l- complete tasks in different ways that are non-conventional, as a team lead, one has to be very mindful that people in your team operate in a particular worldview. And if they're seeing that we can do this thing faster, we can do this thing more efficiently, we can do this thing more profitably, it's not to, and again, there's always the element of risk, but it is to be able to listen to and understand, perhaps, run demos to say, okay, let's do a prototype and see how this thing works. Let's put some small investment behind it and see how it works, so that there's no absolute loss of that integration into the team. I mean, we've heard of stories where particular divisions of a business were not given priority, and those divisions pulled out and they went to start companies, and today they're unicorns, just because you know people felt convinced that this thing that we're doing can work in this particular way, but the body language of management wasn't looking in that direction, right? So I
Hmm.
think those are things that we need to be very mindful of as we move on. People within the teams will look at productivity very differently, and when those suggestions are brought up, leadership should pay attention. Not all of them will be embraceable, but a mature heir would be able to sort of identify what is of value in there, and perhaps, and of course, like we know with all investments, most of the time, out of 10, only two might do very well. Six might be colossal losses. Two might just be marginal, but the two that work out will cover for the eight that didn't. But really, the thinking is that one should be embracing of new ways of doing things.
Mm, mm. Thank you so much. So, what you're saying is that organizations must be sensitive to look at the little changes that we are seeing and also prepare to invest, if need be, to test deliberately what exactly is going on. I'm totally excited at that prospect. So, how do we identify, the way things happen in offices and the speed at which things happen? How do we
Mm.
identify those specific, small, little changes everywhere? How do we identify them? How do we identify those changes? Because there are many organizations that changes happen for, and they don't even know that things have happened. How do we ensure that we don't miss out in those powerful moments? What can we do to identify those moments? Do we need to get a change champion? Do we need to really be deliberate? What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? This is very important. What can we do to identify those moments so that there's a pin on the ground? There is a pin on that particular point. What can we do?
Well, the mindset is first. There has to be a recognition within the leadership, and this is a purely leadership driven mindset. Leadership has
Mm,
to understand that they don't have all the answers. At best, what leadership provides is a vision to say this is where we
mm,
want to be over this period
mm,
of time.
mm,
But people who come into the organization are hired
mm,
based on perceived value, that this this addition to this team will add
mm,
X amount of value to us getting to this vision.
mm,
And the challenge, and again, this can be quite a cultural thing about how people or how teams perceive deference to authority.
mhm,
There,
mhm,
there, there are teams where everyone follows the lead. They don't express any different opinion just because they either don't want their time to be wasted, and they're like, look, whatever the boss says is correct. So everybody just falls in line, even if they know they're heading in the wrong direction, and because they don't want to be part of a system that delays processes. They just want to get it done. All they're interested in is, yeah, this is what the boss has said, let's get it done. Now, those kind of work
mm,
environments will produce um, templated results, and at the
mm,
end of the day, the glory will be to the boss, and the failure will be the boss's as well. If it goes well,
mm,
um, nobody really cares per se. If it doesn't go well, everyone is happy to look for the next opportunity and exit, or for those who will just stay because what they want is a paycheck. But when we're thinking agile, it's really about how are we how are we attacking, and I use the word attacking, how are we attacking a problem? How much can we take
mm,
in this first, I'll use the word sprint, right? How much can we take over the next over this short period of time? Can we attack one
mm,
issue? And in overcoming that
mm,
one
mm,
issue, even though we wanted to go to issue number two, issue number one in addressing it has produced three other
mm,
issues which we think we should address. So issue 1A, 1B, 1C. And 1B, 1C takes us to not issue two, but maybe issue 1D, 1E, 1F. And we actually find out that we may never need to touch issue two at all. That going down issue one is where the real business is. Um, Other
mm,
methodologies seem to want to cover 10 issues, and we must do every one of those. We must touch every one of
mm,
those subjects. We must touch every one of those
mm,
issues, even though addressing them may
mm.
not necessarily be addressing the problem. It's just because we have premeditated the path, and we're insisting that this is the way we have to go. Agile teams understand that sometimes in solving the problem, that's where new insights come up. That's where we discover that, oh, we didn't think about this, and maybe this is the way to go. Um, so it's back to your
I'll come.
question.
I'll worry. I'll come.
Back to your question.
Yes, 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 sir.
Are we together?
Yes, I am, sir. I am, sir.
So
I
back
am,
to your
sir.
question of how teams can identify this. It is really a leadership challenge here. It's a leadership mindset to ensure that this the room is given for people to add their own thoughts, questions, observations, even differences in opinion on how a problem should be solved. Because in doing that, we can then approach it
Mm-hmm,
differently.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, those are some of my initial thoughts on this.
Okay, thank you for that. So you're saying that management awareness and intentionality is key. Bless you, bless you, bless you,
Thank
bless
you.
you, sir. Management awareness and intentionality is key in this conversation. Somebody must record that something powerful is going on here. And there's a moment, I mean, the eureka moment, the moment of change, the moment where we discover an opportunity, especially in the age of automation and AI, we need to select candidate opportunities for improvement. I think one of the things that can help us identify that, also, in addition to what you said, management being aware, is the principle of Pareto optimality. What change, what 10 to 20 to 30% change can give us 80% productivity, 80 to 90 to 100% productivity. If something is not within that flow, if the result is not within the 80% mark, then maybe we should not invest time, energy, or money on it. Changes will happen anyway, but we need to choose the changes that will make us really profitable, because change is costly. And if the change effort is too big and too large at once, you're trying to, and the larger and the bigger your organization, the more established or traditional your organizational operations are, the more difficult it might be and the more costly it might be for you to change. I know many organizations are trying to change and they never survive the change. The change changed them. So whatever change you're trying to make that is too big at once, maybe you left your change unchanged too long. You've left it too long in time, so that year in, year out, month in, month out, you were comfortable doing the same thing. Now, if you remain comfortable doing the same thing, what will happen is that that thing you are doing will come and undo you. So there needs to be an awareness, and that awareness needs to be calibrated, and it should be somebody's responsibility within the org structure or the agile team to say what are the changes we are seeing in terms of operational, because a lot of us are so busy with results. As you know, as a CEO, sir, a lot of us are very, very, very we are soaked with results, and month in, month out, so that we don't even take attention to what is working and what is not working. What do I need to change? What don't I need to change? That's a very powerful one right there. And thank you for sharing. So before I say some of the changes I'm personally anticipating. And for those watching online, thank you for joining. A certain lady on LinkedIn has also reposted. If you can help us repost across your networks, thank you so much. Let me look for her name on LinkedIn. She reposted just a few minutes ago. I'm so excited. Thank you for reposting. I think her name is. Ooh, I'm trying to look for her details here. Enito. She's a creative graphic designer and she's reposted for us. Thank you, Enito, for reposting this beautiful gem. If you have friends who work in Agile, or they would like to grow their Agile capabilities, kindly excite them in quotes to join us. If you're on Facebook, you can make a comment. Let's know where you're watching us from. Do you agree that there should be somebody's responsibility in management that should actually champion the change in terms of productivity? What are the things we did last week that worked? What are the things that we did upper week that worked? How did we perform this month? How did we perform last quarter? And this is layered from last week to last month to last quarter to last year. And somebody studies that graph from a performance perspective and organizational perspective to create what I call change capital or intelligence that can be deployed and used for excellence or further productivity. Do you agree with that? And who should that person be?
Well,
Because if you say management, sir, management can be damagement. which means nobody at the end of the day.
Well, it's a bit of a catch here because ultimately
Okay.
management still has the responsibility to drive to drive the strategy, right? I mean, the board, I mean, depending on the size of the organization, the board, what the board does is to set a vision, agree on a broad strategy for the organization to say over the next 3 5 years, here's where we want to be. The management is the one that has the task for the execution, right? So in the management will know how to deploy their resources. They will understand the culture of the organization. They understand, or they should understand how who which team is best to drive this, because you may have certain tasks. So let's even use change now as a concept to say an organization wants to make certain changes in certain areas. Who should drive that kind of change, right? Now you may have a unit that has, let's just use for the purpose of this conversation. Let's say we want to go paperless, right? We are a I don't know. I keep getting drawn to financial institutions. So let's say we're a financial institution,
That means
and
that means you're the money man.
yes,
Because really, go where the money is, sir.
yes. So you're a financial institution, and you want to go paperless in all your operations. I mean, you want to completely digitize your operations. And as it is today, it's still the processes are still heavily dependent on paper, right? That is in
Mm,
terms of approvals, in terms of requests, even
mm,
within the organization. Not to now even talk of the customer facing side.
mm-hmm,
And so the temptation for who should drive change in that kind of setting might then be, let it be an operations led thing, since again you have bank branches that issue payment slips and all whatnot, and that
mm-hmm,
really
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
those are the heavy users. And so the organization might think that they should be the ones to drive it.
mm,
However, that's one way to go, right? But depending on how the organization is also wired, the management may think, if we ask these people to do it, there might be higher resistance because that is what they've always known. So maybe what we want to do is to drive this through, say, procurement, and to
mm,
say, if we cut off the supply of paper from its source, right?
mm-hmm,
We allow the teams to become quote unquote innovative. Because
mm-hmm,
if we say operations reduce the use of paper, they will report it. But what is
mm-hmm,
likely to happen is that they will still keep finding reasons and excuses why paper is important.
mm-hmm,
But if you come from procurement to say, you know what, cut off approval on anything that's paper related for the next, do like an incremental reduction, if that makes any sense. So
I
from
get what you're
100%
saying. That's
reducing
actually deep. Mm,
80, 60,
mm,
20,
mm,
0. Over the next
mm,
1 year, we're going to
mm-hmm,
cut our paper supply to zero. That is, we're not
mm-hmm,
going to sign off any approval for procurement of anything that is paper led. What will
mm-hmm,
happen is that there will be typically initial reactions within the organization, especially
mm-hmm,
within, say, the operations unit. But once they get the signal that, look, paper is not coming, they will, within themselves, and that is how we talk about agile team productivity. Once you know
mm,
that this line of supply is cut off, the team
mm-hmm,
itself will figure out ways to address that issue. And that's where
mm.
those team dynamics, excuse me please.
Bless you. Thank you so much. Awesome conversation we are having, and I'm totally excited. I'm trying to invite more of my friends online to join us in this wonderful conversation.
Sorry,
Go on, sir.
I have a
No, please,
cold.
please, go on.
So the once the team realizes that paper is not coming, they're going to figure a way out. Now, I've sort of given two scenarios where management has a choice to say who should drive this change. Should we give the process owners, or should we give some people who might not even have any direct quote unquote, they might not be users, but they have an influence in terms of the supply of this thing. In my reading, I feel that if you give procurement that mandate, that organization, that bank will go paperless in 1 year, because whatever the reactions will be, it will be handled by the team. The team will sort of walk around the problem, and they will say, okay, well,
Mm.
since we're not getting many paper, here's what we need to do. We need to invest in technology. Management says no problem. We'll release the funds. But if you give the users, they'll continue to give excuse and reasons why paper is important. So that is why I said it's not really cast in stone. The responsibility is still management, but management's choice of who should drive that process will either make it or break it. There are certain units within an organization that sometimes can be too emotionally connected to a process that even if you tell them you should change, because they have done it that way consistently, they would, it's almost an automatic trigger. Just say, no, we can't do it. But once there are other intervening factors that influence that thing that they're not in control of, it then becomes a lot easier. I don't know if I'm making a point.
You're making a deep point because I have a follow on tricky management question. Why shouldn't it be the finance team, the CFO and his team? Why should it be the operations lead? Because this is already an operations function. Why shouldn't the person tracking productivity be the chief exchequer? Because that person has the overall oversight to know what is productivity or not. Because every action and inaction is denominated in terms of financial results. Why shouldn't it be the CFO that is tracking why the because this is an operation function. You can't be the judge and the arbiter of your own conversation. You cannot be that. That's what we say all the time in management balance thinking. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I mean, interestingly, personally, I don't think I agree. Let me just say that to you quickly. It's not a
Mm.
trick question. I'm actually going direction of devil's advocate. I don't think the financial officer or the finance team should be the lead. And we can put this in the comment. Who can actually put this in the comment? I don't think so. I don't think so. But why
But,
should they not
but
be? Or why?
procurement, not finance.
What
Procurement.
is it?
Procurement, not finance.
In
Procurement.
this case, shouldn't wouldn't that procurement be a sub function of finance? At the end of this, finance that's going to check the bottom line. You understand what I'm saying? Many procurement teams anyway are under finance technically or theoretically, or there's a dotted line reporting to them eventually. So why
Mm.
shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't it be?
So you're asking why shouldn't, is it why should it be or why shouldn't
This
it be?
either way,
Yes.
why should it be? Why should it not be? I don't think it should. I don't personally think it should be
Mm.
because I think the financial man is too lean and linear in vision because not everything becomes money in the immediate. But at the end of the day, isn't money what we call productivity? If the essence of the business is to make profits and it's an ongoing concern, why shouldn't it be or why should it? This is discussion we'll probably have to fast forward in the future. But should productivity be a financial thingy in terms of who should be that role that we're talking about? And I have my own reservations on that. But I want it out there. Let's debate it.
Oh, okay. Well, so here it is, and I think we sort of alluded to it in the beginning that an organization can be profitable in the present, but there are things that are going on in the macro space that will threaten that profitability in maybe not short term, but medium to long term. And so
Mm,
if management um, understands that, look, this thing is not an immediate threat, but if we don't make any changes now, we're going to suffer the consequences in the future. A smart management will start those changes. They might do them incrementally, but they will initiate. They will not say, because this thing is not an immediate threat, we're not going to do anything about it. So our context today, interestingly, is we're talking about fintechs versus banks. They're two different types of organisms, even though they almost offer the same kind of value, but the models are very different. One is built on brick and mortar, right? Physical contact, use of paper, approvals, XYZ. The other is completely a digitized process. And both of them are able to still, at the end of the day, deliver what the end user considers to be a service. If I want to make a transfer, I don't care about a bank branch. I don't care about your logo. What I care about is, can I fulfill this transaction? Does it go through? Which bank, which service allows me to do this consistently when I need to do it without any stories? I, I, but I don't really care about your commercial. I don't care about your colors. I just want, even though those things are important, right? But what helps us we make the decision is that all of the fluff has been taken off. And what I get is a seamless service. Now, for an organization who is already built on one model, and a management seeing that, look, if we don't make adjustments, these brick and mortar structures that we have in the middle to long term will be threatened. They need to start throwing, and don't forget, we've spoken about this in the past, about how you throw disruptions into teams. That comfort is not the objective of a team being together. It's that the team consistently is able to work around problems and come up with solutions. So even if the management says, "Oh, last year we made a good profit. This year it looks like we're going to make an even bigger profit," management should be thinking, what new things can we introduce into our work stream that helps us think about problems more critically. Say, what if we didn't have this? Are we still going to be able to be productive? If our major lines of supply are cut off today, are we still going to be able to be productive? And it is a management function. It's a management function. So who should drive it? I think that's the debate we're having. And personally, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I think it's a function of who is able to get that mandate done in a way that there are no excuses. Because some teams can get very used to a process where they say, it is not possible. I live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I can tell you categorically that pre pre the for those who may not know, there was a time in 2022 when cash was cursed in Nigeria, and some fintechs were able to come up with solutions that sort of broke that need for people to hold physical cash to be satisfied that a transaction had been fulfilled. Prior to that, if you had said, can you, on your way home, stop by an orange seller on the street and tell the person, I want to buy oranges worth 2,000 naira? That's like, are they going to be able to accept payments in form of a transfer? The answer would have been a categorical no. But you see, certain things have happened that have turned that paradigm around today. That people who peddle things on the streets now feel comfortable accepting that form of of transaction, and they capture it as an actual transaction. Now, if you run a bigger institution and you do not recognize that this trend that has changed is likely going to keep getting bigger in the future, just because you are making lots of money today. Further down the line, if that revenue line drains, it will be the fault of the leadership for not driving that change. So it's it's not a product of convenience. It is that, look, we have to do something about this, even though right now we're being very profitable. But if we don't attack this issue and create some new disruption within ourselves that helps us think different, we're going
mm,
to keep thinking that our revenue lines will keep growing. But one day you just find out that the cheese has moved and people are not patronizing anymore.
mm, mm,
Excuse me,
mm.
please.
No, no, please, thank you so much. I've got a few points of mine in addition to what you said, Mr. D, that finance is not the only way to look at our productivity quotient within an enterprise. Let me just also add very quickly, sir. Let me just quickly add to the conversation on the table. And I totally agree with you all the way. I totally agree with you all the way. Different comments are coming in. Thank you. Thank you. There is from Emeka Christian. I don't know why it's not showing. He said in recent times, I've begun to realize why I shouldn't trust some fintechs, especially when making certain payments to a third party payment gateway. I made a fee payment to a government account through a payment gateway by one of the fintechs in Nigeria. Um, yes, gentlemen, till date, I'm still writing reminders to the fintech guys to launch the money to the government account so I can proceed with what I want to do. This was since June 11 till date. And one Rose Terry of Biawuna, my sister on the graduate days, that's almost 20 something years ago, writes and says, honestly, the fintechs are doing a great job. I hope they don't strike us somewhere along the line. I've also challenged major commercial banks as to why Terry doesn't take any, she doesn't suffer fools gladly. She's always been very, very down to earth as a person. She says, I've also challenged major uh, commercial banks as to why they could not drive the instant transfer credit transactions. My business forced me to join the fintech banks. I was highly skeptical initially. So that's a big lesson there from Terry. If you don't change and the market is signaling for a certain behavioral pattern among your customers and you refuse to structure your operations to change, what you begin to observe is that management will move. Management is the customer. Beyond the management in the business, there's the management in the marketplace. There's the manager that the marketplace responds to. So for whatever business you're running, whether agile teams or whatever business you're running, if your customer base is saying something else and you have not structured your productivity, like you said, I don't want to care how fine or how yellow your logo is. As we said, this team today is yellow. It doesn't matter if you don't deliver the value I need, I walk away. Um, Thank you, Emeka. Please, Emeka, help us share. Terry, help us share on your wall. Thank you. Those are my very good friends. Everyone who is watching this, help us share. 100, Emeka's a true, even 100 is transferred these days. Yeah. Amounts that we couldn't transfer before fintech. By the way, I have a book called Fintech Black Box available on Amazon. It was written by me to look at the future of fintechs and what we're seeing and how you can actually make a change for yourself and your family in terms of your financial fortune. I would encourage everyone to please grab a copy of that book. A couple of conversations about agile teams and productivity. Number one, the person that tracks productivity, I think we need to be more deliberate. As the future of productivity demands that the person that tracks productivity is clear and it will be multiple tracking points because of the nature of KPIs and measures. Something may be financially profitable today, but be a financial liability tomorrow. Something may be operationally profitable today and financial liability tomorrow, then become profitable again down the line. It can be a sinusoidal up and down wave with the amplitude. It can be more profitable at one time, less loss at one time. We can want to take some loss for this period. It doesn't matter how much Google wasn't making money from Google search. It was okay for almost above a decade or even much more. Till today, you don't pay anything for Google search. But people are now paying for subscription on Gemini. And I dare say it's a matter of time. If you are serious with your career, you must begin to pay for one of them very soon. Gemini or GPT or DeepSeek. You will soon have to pay. Now, The past 20 years that Google have been collecting data about searches and all of that is now getting useful. What's the bigger point, my good friends? We can't have one unitary measure because we can even take a loss for a while. The third thing is that there's HR. So there are three functions I think will be involved in that conversation with different metrics to measure so that we have a holistic picture from a management perspective. The fourth kind of person will probably be the auditor or the person that reports from a compliance perspective because we may be profitable, but we are not able to sustain our being profitable because we can be wiped out of business. So I think there are four of them, and there can be more. There's going to be the auditor, there's going to be the human resource or the human capital person, there's going to be the head of finance or the CFO and his team, and there's going to be the production team. These four parties, I think, will be involved in measuring and managing productivity, and they need to listen to each other and use whatever data they have in a collaborative way, not in a competitive way. Finance is always in the habit of trying to denominator conversations in terms of naira and kobo. There are some clients you kill yourself for, they are not financially profitable, but they are good on the brand image. And they actually make the market respond to you. So those are examples of where there needs to be a healthy respect about the data that each of the different functions are bringing together to the table. That's my first thought. That productivity from a team perspective will not be a game of one unitary source. In addition to the good things you said. Number two, we're going to see Scrum Masters become more coaches. You know, the agile coaches are the big names. But most Scrum Masters will have to become agile coach in that their capacity, because there will soon be need for people to work on multiple teams more. That's the thing. So Scrum Masters or managers of agile teams will have to spread themselves more, and they will need to become coaches more. The second thing is that Scrum Masters today, they coach, they teach, they facilitate. What's the fourth one? They coach, they teach, they facilitate, and they mentor. They mentor, coach, teach, and facilitate. That's what they do today. What's going to happen is that they will need to now in the future do more of that across several teams. And there is some measures already in the horizon, little by little. The skills that you need to be an agile coach, a scrum master, and project manager, they are getting very close. Just the same way PMs and BAs will have to merge more, where some part of the project you have to be PM, some part of the project you have to be not healthy, not recommended. Same for Scrum Master and Project Manager, not healthy, not recommended. But productivity in the future will call for it as we begin to see the emergence of agile tools. So those are the kind of changes I see, role-based changes. Then the financial team and the compliance team need to be embedded more in productivity through the line. We can't afford to keep doing audits only at the point of auditing alone, because the artifacts of data, what we need to show to the compliance man, must be embedded in the operations process and be collected week upon week and produced and kept aside. And it should be part of quality of production. We can't afford to let it be only when audit is coming up is when we now begin to look at audits. So those are the kind of small changes I think that we'll begin to see in team productivity and in agile teams as we go into the nascent emergent future. Mr. D, I know some other ideas are already popping in your mind. Let us, have some other discussions. We're going to round up shortly. It's 8 o'clock on my side of the Atlantic, and on your side is 9 p.m. on the dot, and I know you got to rest, sir. Thank you, Terry and Emeka, for commenting. I got gifts for both of you. They're the only two commenters today. Let's know where you're chatting with us from, and if you have a comment, please write. We're available on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Yep, we're on those four today. All right, go on, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
Any other comments before we now do a closing?
Well, the I think one of the points you've made, which I also agree with for the most part, is that managing change is not a unitary function of any specific department, right? It has to be one that's it has to be nimble. It also has to bear in mind the culture of the organization. It has to bear in mind the also the change curve, how long that change is going to take. Because if it is forced, there might be certain reactions that will happen that can now produce unintended consequences. Um, so the attitude towards managing change and also ensuring that teams are still able to remain productive is extremely
Mm,
important. The management is the custodian of the organization. Like we said, they're the ones who drive the strategy. They're the ones who ensure that this destination that this organization is heading to, we're able to get there by the time that we set, and hopefully earlier. But in doing that, they also have to be management has to be mindful of the nuances of what happens when change is introduced. Because again, it's a normal thing for change to be resisted. There are also those who would embrace it. There'll be those who will wait until it becomes mainstream before they come on board. There are those who will be laggards. There are those who will resist it completely. It's in understanding how to sequence and continue to tweak this model until at least we get a greater percentile of that change done. What I've also observed is that it's easier to it's easier to build afresh than to
mm,
change an organization that already has culture that's almost set, right? And that's why from time to time organizations will start a new division. They would have like a startup that is not connected to it at all, so that they give those. It's like an innovation lab where these guys have the liberty to take quicker decisions, to fail very quickly, right? To experience high risk and hopefully high return without theirs overtly affecting the rest of the organization. That's also another way to manage change. Because if you know, if you run a multinational where you're operating in multiple countries and you have multiple ongoing simultaneous projects, to institute change into that kind of stream can have, like I said, unintended consequences. But if you're able to silo a team, right, or a startup that can focus on just a problem, that way they're more enabled to fix those. And as those things become, as you can proof those solutions, you can then introduce them into the larger organization. Do you understand? That way you have some kind of proof of concept, an MVP as they call it, that is tested. And that way you can start to, rank that through the system because you have tested it in one way. So those are some of the things that over time organizations have gotten to learn that um, and there's no silver bullet that solves it all. Every instance is different. There are those who are, even regardless of their size, are able to pivot. There are those who are small and are unable to. So it may not necessarily be a thing of size. I think the first framework is the mindset, how we want to approach this challenge that we have ahead of us, or this vision that we have. What is our mindset to it? How much resources are we willing to deploy? What will our tactics be every day, every week, every quarter? How will we measure it? Are we going to be, and you raise an important point about audits. What are we measuring? Because it's also important. There's a way to measure that will show that you're not making any progress, but there are also other parameters by which you can measure that show that, okay, on these issues we're making progress. Maybe not financially, but X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I think those have been my thoughts tonight.
Mm, mm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My last shot to you. How should we not approach productivity from a team perspective and an organizational perspective in the coming years and months? How should we not look at productivity? What should we not do? What are the anathemas that we should not do? We said a lot of what we should do, and what we should do is a very exhaustive list. But at least you know that if you don't want to leave, just close your nose and it's easier. But in terms of living and living well, then the list is now very long. So, what should we not do? That's the absolute basic minimum. That once you do that, you're about to come to an end. What should we not do? That is easier to track and start from. Someone say, okay, you've said all these things. What should I start from? As an individual, as a team manager, as a leader, what should I start from?
So what should we not do? It's important that we don't shut out ideas. It's important that we don't we don't discourage team members who introduce a different way of solving a problem.
Hmm.
I was in a session a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about Gen Zs and the workforce, and one of the positions was, Gen Zs are very lazy. And someone said, one of the facilitators said that, look, if you give a lazy, quote unquote, and I'm being very, very responsible with my words, if you give a lazy person a task to do, they're going to find the easiest way to get it done. And you should think about that easiest way to get it done, because this person just, for them, the task is not enjoyable. So instead of
Hmm.
spending 10 minutes, they want to do it in 30 seconds. If someone can get what originally was done in 10 minutes done in 30 seconds, you should pay
Hmm.
attention to that person. I mean, if you
Hmm.
extract all the emotion of laziness or indolence, what you come up with is a scaled down version of, or rather, a solution that can be done in a shorter period of time. And really, that's productivity. That's productivity. Many of us who are, especially at manager level, have who have had some kind of work experience, sometimes have inherited processes. They've worked for us in the past, and we might not be willing to change them because we think that. Thank you. We think that's the only way those things can be done. But what we shouldn't do, don't shut out any ideas. Don't shut out any ideas. If someone says, why can't we do this thing this way? Tell them to make a presentation. If you're in leadership position and you can, go to management and ask for some kind of fund to say, can we invest a small portion in this idea and see where it goes? Will it fail? In fact, give management the possibility that it's going to fail, so that they are comfortable that, if it succeeds, then it becomes a big deal, right? Just so that we can test these things. Because I mean, especially in Nigeria where I live, a lot of the innovative ideas that have come in the last 5 years were things that they were always there. People always thought, it would be nice to have this thing. Today, they are realities. And in the next 5 years, there are going to be businesses that were enterprises that will exist. And today, the 5th of November 2025, somebody's sitting and saying, why can't we do this thing this way? But somebody say, that's how it's always been now. It cannot change. But somebody's saying, look, it can change. We can, if we do 1, 2, and 6, we're likely to get this thing done quicker, cheaper, and more effective. So, what not to do? Don't shoot any ideas down. Listen, ask questions, ask for some kind of proof of concept. If you're in management, make a case for some fund to toy around with these ideas. That would be my thought.
Absolutely fantastic. I would like to add to that because thinking about your productivity in the mid to longer term may be tedious. Do not let success and what you're doing overwhelm your soul so you don't check.
Hmm.
Don't let success and what you are doing overwhelm you so that you don't check. Don't leave it packed.
Hmm.
Don't leave it untended. The tendency to ignore is huge. Don't subscribe to it. It is the sure way to despondency.
Hmm.
On that note, Mr. D, if there is no other further comments from you, I would like to say Emeka and Terry have won the most engaging audience today and members today, and they will get a gift from me. Remarkable individuals. Mr. D, we will continue Wednesday or Thursday. We'll let our viewers know when. But thank you so much and rest. I can see you sneezing. Please rest. As we say, the Lord is
Right.
your strength, and I will dare add in Jesus' name. God
Amen.
bless you, sir.
Thank you very much.
God
I
bless
think
you. Wait,
just one final 30
yes,
seconds, just to encourage
yes, yes,
Emeka. As
yes,
Emeka
yes.
has spoken about um, perhaps some reason not to trust the fintechs. I would like to, on their behalf, just plead for for leniency. I think this kind of issues will eventually. I mean, June is a long time from now, and maybe those are some of the teething issues that the fintechs will have to deal with as well. But they're if we look at it on on the average, they have brought in some relief for a lot of the unbanked and underserved. So
Mm.
apologies on their behalf. I'm not an appointed spokesperson, but I'm just pleading for leniency and that hopefully these things will get better and better as days go by. But thank you very much for that.
I second that, Emeka. Please don't be. Uh, give another chance and another chance. So we'll come your way again next time. Please share this with your friends. Call them in. Let's make agility safer and better and easier. Thank you, Mr. D. Have a wonderful evening. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much.